In this section, we are going to discuss about slip test, that is experimental setup for slip test, theory of slip test, derivation of induced EMF and internal power factor angle using phasor diagrams. So before going to the experimental setup for slip test, let's discuss two important concepts which is coming during the discussion of slip test. We know the equation for induced EMF in alternator as 4.44 kWf phi t, which is approximately equal to the terminal voltage V. So from this equation, we can have the expression for flux as 1 by 4.44 kWt into V by F. So as long as this terminal voltage and frequency is maintained constant, flux remains constant. This is stator of salient pole alternator. Say at a particular moment, the stator poles are N and S as shown in figure. When stator of three-phase machine is energized, a rotating magnetic field is generated which is rotating at synchronous speed. Say this is the direction of rotating magnetic field which is rotating at synchronous speed. This is the rotor which is assumed to be rotating in clockwise direction with a speed which is greater than synchronous speed. Now, due to the variations of speed of rotating magnetic field and rotor, there is a relative speed will come into picture. Due to this relative speed, the poles in the stator and poles on the rotor are not moving together. So let's assume at a particular moment the stator pole, that is N and S, are coming in alignment with direct axis of the rotor. This is the direct axis, which is the axis passing through the center of the pole, and this is the quadrature axis, which is quadrature with direct axis. So whenever this condition is coming into picture, along direct axis, air gap length is minimum. If air gap length is minimum, reluctance is less. As we know, in the equation for flux, as reluctance is decreased, in order to maintain constant flux, armature current also need to decrease. Corresponding to direct axis, in order to maintain constant flux, armature current also decreases as reluctance is less. Now let's consider the second case. Under this case, N and S is the stator pole, that is D axis or polar axis of the stator. Due to the relative speed of the rotor and synchronously rotating magnetic field, say Q axis of the rotor is coming in alignment with polar axis of the stator. Under this condition, reluctance is maximum. As reluctance is maximum, in order to maintain constant flux, current also need to increase. So please remember, corresponding to direct axis alignment between stator and rotor, air gap is less, therefore reluctance is less. In order to maintain constant flux, current also need to decrease. So corresponding to direct axis, armature current is minimum. Similarly, corresponding to the alignment of quadrature axis of the rotor and polar axis of the stator, as reluctance is more, in order to maintain constant flux, armature current also need to increase. So corresponding to the alignment of Q axis of the rotor and polar axis of the stator, armature current is maximum. Now let's comes to the experimental setup for slip test, that is the test used to find out XD and SQ experimentally. There are three important things here. One is prime mover, another one is alternator. In alternator, field is unexcited. Field winding is not energized. Instead, here we are connecting a voltmeter. Then, third thing is a three-phase auto transformer. What are the important precautions and initial condition to be taken during this experimentation? Let's see that one. In the case of prime mover, we need to keep armature rheostat in maximum resistance position and field rheostat in minimum resistance position. In synchronous machine, as we discussed, the field of the synchronous machine is unexcited, and across the field we are connecting a voltmeter, and we need to ensure that three-phase auto transformer is minimum position. So after ensuring all these precautions and initial condition, we need to switch on DC supply to the prime mover, that is DC motor, and check whether the machine is rotating in proper direction or not. If it is not rotating in proper direction, then we need to switch off DC supply to the prime mover and we need to interchange the field terminal of DC motor. After ensuring proper direction of rotation, then we need to gradually cut off armature rheostat, that is RH1. Then by adjusting the field rheostat RH2, we need to ensure the machine is rotating at rated speed, that is the rated speed of the alternator. After ensuring the rated speed by means of this prime mover, then by means of this three-phase auto transformer, we need to give a small AC voltage across the stator winding. Now, if the direction of the rotor and direction of rotating magnetic fields are in same direction, the induced voltage in this field winding is almost zero. Then this voltmeter indicate a low value. If this voltmeter indicate a high value, it indicate that the rotor speed and rotating magnetic field speeds are opposite. Under this case, we need to switch off AC supply and interchange any two lines of three-phase supply leads. Then switch on AC supply and apply a small voltage across the stator. Then voltmeter across the field will read a small value. After ensuring this, we can proceed with slip test. So after ensuring this condition, how to conduct slip test? So for conducting slip test, we need to adjust the field rheostat of the prime mover and made rotor speed slightly above or below synchronous speed. Say the rated speed of our alternator is 1500 rpm. Now by adjusting RH2, we are increasing its speed slightly more, the synchronous speed, say 1510 rpm. So after increasing the speed to 1510 rpm, we need to apply a reduced AC voltages of about 20 to 30% rated voltage across the stator using three-phase auto transformer. Now, whenever three-phase supply is given to the three-phase armature winding, a rotating magnetic field is generated which will rotate at synchronous speed. That is, rotating magnetic field is rotating at synchronous speed. Rotor is rotating at a speed which is greater than the synchronous speed. Obviously, some relative speed is there between rotating magnetic field and the rotor. Due to this relative speed between rotating magnetic field and rotor, voltmeter and ammeter reading will fluctuate between maxima and minimum. Then we need to record this maximum voltage, minimum voltage, maximum current and minimum current. Now let's see theory of slip test. As we discussed earlier, whenever there is a relative speed between rotor and rotating magnetic field, the rotor pole and stator pole cannot move together. Sometimes the direct axis of the rotor come in alignment with polar axis of the stator. Under that condition, air gap length is minimum. If air gap length is minimum, reluctance is minimum. If reluctance is minimum, flux linkage will be maximum. If flux linkage is maximum, inductance will be maximum. If inductance is maximum, reactance will be maximum. If maximum reactance is there, impedance along direct axis will be maximum. If impedance is maximum, current will be minimum. Or in other words, in order to maintain constant flux under low air gap condition, current also need to decrease, or current is minimum under this alignment, that is alignment between direct axis of the rotor and polar axis of the stator. So armature current will be minimum if there is an alignment between stator polar axis and rotor direct axis. If current is minimum and the terminal voltage is constant, less voltage drop is there across the transformer winding, therefore more voltage is there across the armature winding. So corresponding to I minimum, voltmeter indicate maximum value. So Based on these two values, that is V max and I minimum, we can calculate direct axis reactance. Then due to this relative speed, after some times, there is an alignment between quadrature axis of the rotor with the direct axis of the stator. Under this condition, air gap length is maximum. If air gap length is maximum, reluctance is maximum. If reluctance is maximum, flux linkage will be minimum. If flux linkage is minimum, reactance is minimum. If reactance is minimum, impedance is minimum. If impedance is minimum, current through the armature is maximum. If armature current is maximum, more voltage is getting dropped across the transformer winding. Thus, as the terminal voltage is constant, less voltage is available across the armature winding. Thus, corresponding to I max, voltmeter indicate minimum value. So from this minimum value of voltages which is indicated by voltmeter and maximum value of current which is indicated by ammeter, we can calculate quadrature axis reactance. Thus, voltmeter and ammeter fluctuate between maximum and minimum value. Corresponding to direct axis reactance, armature current is minimum and the voltage applied across armature is maximum. Thus, direct axis synchronous impedance per phase is equal to V phase by I phase, which is equal to V max by root 3 by I minimum. If we are neglecting armature resistance, direct axis synchronous reactance XSD is equal to V max by root 3 by I minimum, which is equal to XD, direct axis synchronous reactance. Corresponding to quadrature axis reactance, armature current is maximum and voltage applied across armature is minimum. Thus, quadrature axis synchronous impedance ZSQ is equal to V min by root 3 into I max. Neglecting armature resistance, quadrature axis synchronous reactance SSQ, that is SQ is equal to V min by root 3 into I max. So this is the oscillogram observed during slip test. This is the voltage across the field terminal, and it is clear that armature voltage and armature current is fluctuating between maximum and minimum due to the variation of air gap length. Corresponding to direct axis, maximum voltage is there and minimum current is there. Corresponding to quadrature axis alignment, there is minimum voltage and maximum current. So based on these four readings, we can calculate XD and SQ. So XD is equal to phase value of this voltage by phase value of this current. SQ is equal to phase value of this voltage by phase value of this current. Now let's draw the phasor diagram of salient pole alternator based on modified two reaction theory. The important parameters used for drawing the phasor diagrams are: first, E0, that is excitation EMF in armature per phase. V is the rated terminal voltage per phase. I is armature current. XD is direct axis synchronous reactance per phase. SQ is quadrature axis synchronous reactance per phase. Phi is the power factor angle, that is the angle between voltage and I. Psi is the internal power factor angle, which is the angle between excitation EMF and armature current I. Delta is the angle between excitation EMF E0 and terminal voltage V, which is known as load angle or torque angle or power angle. Now let's see the phasor diagram of salient pole alternator working under lagging power factor condition. Let the excitation EMF E0 be the reference phasor. Armature current I is lagging E0 by internal power factor angle psi. Now we need to resolve armature current into two components. First component is horizontal component, that is along E0, that is in phase component of E0 IQ, which is equal to I cos psi, and vertical component that is in quadrature with E0, that is ID. ID is equal to I sin psi. The phasor diagram is drawn in such a way that excitation EM of E0 is the vector sum of terminal voltage, I into RA drop, which is drawn parallel with IQSQ, which is leading IQ by an angle 90 degree, and IDXD, which is leading ID by an angle 90 degree. So, based on this concept, from E0 we need to subtract all these drops. That is, we need to subtract IDXD drop, IQXQ drop, and I into RA drop from E0, we can obtain terminal voltage V. So first of all, let's consider IDXD drop. IDXD drop is leading ID by 90 degree. That we need to subtract from E0. Then we need to subtract IQ into SQ, that is leading IQ by 90 degree. This is IQ. So this vector IQ SQ is leading IQ by 90 degree. Then we need to subtract I into RA drop, that is drawn parallel with I. So after subtracting all these drops, the final phasor is V, that is the terminal voltage. Angle between E0 and V is delta, that is load angle or torque angle. Angle between V and I is the power factor angle phi. Now let's derive the expression for E0 using this phasor diagram. E0 is taken as reference. Armature current is lagging E0 by psi. We are resolving armature current into in-phase component, that is IQ, and vertical component ID. Then we are subtracting IDXD from E0, which is leading ID by 90 degree. Then we are subtracting IQSQ, which is leading IQ by 90 degree. Then we are subtracting I into RA drops, which is drawn parallel to armature current. This gives terminal voltage V. Here it is to be noted that the magnitude of E0 is greater than the terminal voltage. So the machine is over excited. Also from this phasor diagram, it is clear that the internal power factor angle psi is the sum of the power factor angle and load angle. That is psi is equal to phi plus delta. Now, in order to derive the expression for E0, let's draw some lines like this. From the tip of V, we are drawing a line, and from the tip of I into SQ, we are extending it and naming these points as O, A, B, and C. So from this phasor diagram, it is clear that vector E0 is the sum of vector OA plus AB plus BC. So first of all, let's consider this right angle triangle, that is right angle triangle OAV. When we are considering this right angle triangle, V is the hypotenuse, OA is the adjacent side, and angle between these two is delta. Considering this, OA can be written as V cos delta. Then in order to determine the value of AB, let's consider this small right angle triangle. This angle is psi and hypotenuse is I into RA. So AB is its adjacent side. So what is AB? AB is equal to I into RA cos psi. We know I cos psi is IQ. Therefore, AB is equal to IQRA. And BC is already known, that is IDXD. So, from the phasor diagram, the expression for E0 can be derived as V cos delta plus I into RA cos psi plus IDX. That is, E0 is equal to V cos delta plus IQRA plus IDXD. Now let's consider the same phasor diagram in order to derive the expression for internal power factor angle psi. Let OD be induced EMF, that is E0, that is taken as reference. Armature current is lagging E0 by internal power factor angle psi. We can resolve armature current in phase component, that is IQ, and quadrature components, that is ID. As this right angle triangle is required, let's mark these points as G and H. Then in order to obtain the terminal voltage, we need to subtract various drop, that is IDXD, which is leading ID by 90 degree, IQSQ, which is leading IQ by 90 degree, then I into RA phasor, which is parallel to armature current. So this vector gives the terminal voltage V. Let this point be B. Now we need to extend armature current phasor downward. Then from the tip of terminal voltage, we can draw a perpendicular bisector to this extended line so that it will meet at E. Say this point is E. Now from this tip of this extended line, we need to extend upward so that this meeting point is F, I and C respectively. So from this meeting point on this E0 phasor, we need to draw a line downward which is parallel to IQSQ, and from this meeting point that is I, we need to draw a line which is parallel to E0 so that a right angle triangle is created and this point is J. So considering this right angle triangle OGH, here hypotenuse is I and we can have the equation for IQ as I cos psi. From this I cos phi, we can have the equation for I as IQ by cos psi. Let it be equation number 1. Now let's consider this big triangle OFC. In this triangle, this angle is psi and this angle is 90 degree. Therefore, this angle is 90 minus psi. Now let's consider this right angle triangle IGC. In this right angle triangle, this angle is psi and this angle is 90 degree and this length is IQSQ. So in this triangle, what is CJ? CJ is the adjacent side and CI is the hypotenuse. So we can write CJ is equal to CI cos I, which is equal to IQSQ. So what is CI? CI is equal to IQSQ by cos psi. Let it be equation number 2. Equation number 1 is I is equal to IQ by cos psi. And equation number 2 is CI is equal to IQSQ by cos psi. So CI can be written as ISQ, that is equation number 3. Now let's consider this big triangle again, that is triangle OFC. From this right angle triangle, angle psi is equal to tan inverse opposite side by adjacent side, that is tan inverse FC by OF, which is equal to tan inverse FC is equal to FI plus IC and OF is equal to OE plus EF. When we are considering this right angle triangle ODE, V is a hypotenuse and angle is phi. Therefore, DE is equal to V sin phi. Therefore, FI is also is equal to V sin phi. And this length, that is OE, is equal to phi cos phi. Substituting all these values in this equation, we can have the expression for internal power factor angle psi as tan inverse V sin phi plus ISQ by V cos phi plus I into Ra. Now let's consider the phasor diagram of salient pole alternator at unity power factor condition. Let excitation EMF E0 be the reference phasor. Armature current I is lagging E0 by an internal power factor angle psi. In this case, the terminal voltage and armature current will become in phase. Why? Because the power factor of operation is unity power factor. In this case also, we need to resolve armature current into in-phase component, that is IQ, and quadrature component ID, which is equal to I sin psi. Then we need to subtract all the drops from E0 in order to obtain the terminal voltage V. First of all, let's consider ID XD, which is leading ID by 90 degree. Then we need to consider IQSQ, which is leading IQ by 90 degree. Then we need to consider armature resistance drop, which is in phase with armature current. Then this vector gives terminal voltage V. Here we can see that V and I are in phase. Why? Because power factor of operation under consideration is unity power factor. Here also we can see that the magnitude of induced EMF E0 is greater than the terminal voltage. Therefore, the machine is overexcited. And also angle between E0 and V, that is delta, is equal to internal power factor angle psi. So similar to lagging case, let's draw two lines in order to derive the expression for induced EMF E0. Let's mark these points as O, A, B and C. From this right angle triangle OAV, we can obtain the equation for OA as V cos delta.
In order to obtain the length AB, let's consider this small right angle triangle with the hypotenuse I into Ra, and this angle is psi and this length is adjacent side of this right angle triangle. So from this right angle triangle, AB can be written as I into Ra cos psi. As I cos psi is equal to IQ, AB can be written as IQ Ra. And BC is already known, that is IDXD. So from this phasor diagram, E0 can be written as OA plus AB plus BC. Substituting these values of OA, AB and BC, E0 can be obtained as V cos delta plus I into Ra cos psi plus IDXD. As I cos psi is IQ, the final expression for E0 is V cos delta plus IQ Ra plus IDXD. Now let's consider the phasor diagram of salient pole alternator corresponding to leading power factor of operation. Let E0 be the reference phasor. Armature current I is leading E0 by internal power factor angle psi. Then I can be resolved into in-phase component with E0, that is IQ, which is equal to I cos psi, and quadrature component with E0, that is ID, which is equal to I sin psi. In order to obtain the terminal voltage from E0, we need to subtract all voltage drops. First of all, let's consider IDXD drops, which is leading ID by 90 degree. Then we can consider IQSQ, which is leading IQ by 90 degree. Then we can consider I into RA drop, which is parallel with armature current I. So this is the final phasor that represents the terminal voltage. Angle between E0 and V is delta, and angle between V and I is phi, the power factor angle. In order to derive the expression for E0, we need to draw different lines like this, and let's mark these points as O, A, B and C. From this phasor diagram, it is clear that magnitude of V is greater than E0. Therefore, the machine is under excited. And also from this phasor diagram, it is clear that power factor angle is small with respect to internal power factor angle. So the relation between these angles can be written as psi is equal to phi minus delta. Now let's consider this right angle triangle OBV. From this right angle triangle OBV, hypotenuse is V, therefore OB is equal to V cos delta. And in order to obtain the length BC, let's consider the small right angle triangle with I into RA as hypotenuse, and this angle is psi. Therefore BC, which is the adjacent side of that right angle triangle, BC is obtained as I into RA cos psi. As I cos psi is equal to IQ, BC can be written as IQRA, and the length AC is already known, that is IDXD. So from this phasor diagram, E0 can be written as OC minus AC. What is OC? OC is equal to OB plus BC. Substituting different values of OB, BC and AC in this equation, we can obtain E0 as V cos delta plus I into RA cos psi minus IDXD. As I cos psi is IQ, the final expression for E0 can be obtained as E0 is equal to V cos delta plus IQRA minus IDXD. So in general, for salient pole alternator, no load induced EMF E0 can be written as V cos delta plus IQRA plus or minus IDXD, plus for lagging and unity power factor condition and minus for leading power factor condition.